Apa dia? hadirin dipersilakan duduk. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam. Izin Saman selaku pengacara majlis pada pagi ini ingin menerangkan kepada yang berbahagia Datuk, Datin, Prof, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan mengenai plan tindakan kecemasan di UKM. Saya mohon kerjasama yang berbahagia Datuk, Datin, Prof, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan untuk memberi perhatian pada taklimat yang akan saya berikan. Untuk makluman, Dewan Kuliah ini dilengkapi dengan segala peralatan mengesan dan memadam kebakaran sebagaimana yang ditetapkan oleh Jabatan Bomba dan Pengalaman Manusia. Dewan ini juga mempunyai 2 pintu keluar yang boleh digunakan di bahagian kiri anda, atas dan di bawah Dewan. Sekiranya berlaku kecemasan seperti kebakaran, logik kecemasan akan berbunyi. Saya berharap yang berbahagia Datuk, Datin, Prof, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan supaya bertenang, tidak berasa cemas dan diminta keluar secara teratur melalui pintu keluar kecemasan menuju ke tempat berkumpul untuk bancian. Pegawai insiden yang terdapat dalam majlis ini akan membantu dalam pengisian bangunan ini. Semoga yang berbahagia Datuk, Datin, Prof, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan berada dalam keadaan selamat dan sihat sepanjang majlis ini berlangsung. Dalam suasana pandemik COVID-19, saya ingin mengingatkan semua bahawa bahaya jangkitan masih wujud di dalam komuniti dan kita perlu mengambil langkah-langkah pencegahan jangkitan seperti yang disarankan oleh Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Elakkan 3S, iaitu elakkan kawasan yang sesak, elakkan kawasan yang sempit dan elak sembang atau bertutur dalam jarak yang dekat. Amalkan 3W, iaitu wash, kerap mencuci tangan dengan air dan sabun. Wear, memakai alat pelitup muka di tempat awam atau jika bergejala, dan warn, iaitu amaran dari KKM seperti elakkan bersalaman atau bersentuhan, amalkan etika batuk atau bersin dan dapatkan rawatan segera jika bergejala. Mohon semua hadirin patuhi SOP yang telah ditetapkan oleh Majlis Keselamatan Negara dan UKM dengan memberi kerjasama mengenai perkara-perkara berikut. Sesiapa yang bergejala dan suhu melebihi 37.5 darjah Celsius dilarang berada di dalam bilik ini. Bilangan peserta mestilah 50% daripada kapasiti bilik. Majlis ini diadakan tidak melebihi 4 jam dan kekalkan penjarakan fizikal sekurang-kurangnya 1 meter.
Oh ya ke?
Terima kasih dan kerjasama yang diberikan.
Mereka cakap apa ni? Apa dia bukan buat account lagi ke?
Dan salam sejahtera. Mohon keberkatan majlis pada pagi ini dijemput Encik Ahmad Shibli untuk memimpin bacaan doa. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka khalaqul azim, innaka samiun alim, innaka ghafurur rahim, innaka rabbul arsyil azim, innaka al-barru jawadul karim. Ya Allah, Engkaulah yang mempunyai segala kepujian, Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala kepujian, Engkaulah yang berhak menerima segala kesyukuran, Engkaulah yang memiliki segala pemerintahan, di tangan Engkau segala kebajikan, dan kepada Engkaulah kembali segala dosa. Allahumma ya Karim ya Rahim, cucurilah rahmat dan rahimmu ke atas Majlis Syarahan Profesor Emeritus Fakulti Sains Kesihatan yang diadakan pada hari ini. Berkatilah ia dari awal hingga akhirnya. Ya Fa'alu lima yurid, kami juga memohon perlindungan daripada-Mu ya Allah dari segala perkara yang boleh mencacat celakan majlis kami dan daripada segala perkara yang melalaikan kami dari berbuat taat kepada-Mu ya Allah. Kepada-Mu juga kami serah segala urusan kami. Allahumma jama'ana ala jam'an marhuma wa taqarrubna min ba'di taqarruban ma'suma. Allahumma inna na'udzubika minal barasi wal jununi والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Terima kasih diucapkan. Hadirin yang dihormati sekalian, memulakan acara majlis dengan hormatnya, mempersilakan yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Suzana Shahab, Dekan Fakulti Sains Kesihatan untuk menyampaikan ucapan haluan. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Saudara-saudari yang dihormati sekalian. Pada hari ini kita memberi penghormatan kepada Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail Mohamed Noor yang akan menyampaikan syarahan Profesor Emeritus beliau yang bertajuk Keperluan Kalori Manusia dan Obesiti, Pengalaman, Sumbangan dan Cabaran Masa Depan. Mohamed Ismail Mohamed dilahirkan di Kampung Baru, Kuala Lumpur pada 15 Oktober 1949. Beliau berkelulusan ijazah Doctor of Veterinary Medicine (DVM) dari College of Animal Husbandry, Lahore, Pakistan pada tahun 1923 dan sarjana Sains Makanan dari University of Reading, UK pada tahun 1925. Beliau telah dianugerahkan ijazah Doktor Falsafah daripada dalam bidang makanan dari Queen Elizabeth College, University of London, UK pada tahun 1983. Beliau merupakan rakyat Malaysia pertama menerima United Nations University UNU Fellowship ke Institute of Nutritional Central America and Panama, INCAP, Guatemala tahun 1928-1999. Samping menerima Third World Academy of Sciences (TWAS) Fellowship ke Institute of Nutrition, Rome, Italy 1988 sehingga 1989. Kerjaya beliau di UKM bermula sebagai pensyarah di Jabatan Biologi pada tahun 1976. Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail adalah pengasas dan penyelaras program pemakanan dan program tertentu. Universiti tempatan pertama yang menawarkan program ijazah sarjana bidang sains makanan dan pemakanan pada tahun 1983 dan ijazah sarjana budaya detektif pada tahun 1985. Dia dilantik sebagai Profesor Madya dan menjadi Ketua Jabatan Sains Makanan dan Pemakanan dari tahun 1989 hingga 1994. Sebelum dilantik sebagai Profesor dalam bidang pemakanan yang pertama di Malaysia pada tahun 1994. Beliau dianugerahkan Profesor Emeritus Pemakanan dan Pemakanan pada tahun 2014. Sepanjang kejayaan di DBM, beliau memainkan peranan yang sangat penting dalam perubahan Jabatan Pemakanan dan Detektif Fakulti Sains Kesihatan Bersekutu FSKB pada tahun 1995 dan kini kita kenal sebagai FSK Fakulti Sains Kesihatan. Selain itu, beliau diberi mandat sebagai Timbalan Dekan FSKB tahun 1995-1997 menjadi Ketua Jabatan Pemakanan dan Detektif FSKB 1998-2005. Selepas bersara wajib pada tahun 2005, beliau berkhidmat sebagai Profesor Kontrak di UKM sehingga 2011. Sumbangan beliau bukan sahaja tertumpu di UKM. Peringkat kebangsaan, beliau adalah panel penasihat dan tindakan pemakanan kebangsaan sejak tahun 1996 dan pengurusi kumpulan kerja teknikal dan panduan pemakanan Malaysia RNI. Sebagai tambahan, saya juga salah seorang daripada pelajar Prof Ismail dalam tim mid-80s di Depan. Dan antara kuliah Prof Ismail yang saya masih ingat adalah dan buat. Beliau juga telah dilantik sebagai Presiden Persatuan Kajian Obesiti Malaysia pada tahun 1996. Dan juga terlibat sebagai timbalan pengurusi jawatankuasa jurulatih kebangsaan, Majlis Syarahan Negara dan juga ahli tingkat profesional Satuan Bola Sepak Selangor dan jawatankuasa Perubatan Satuan Bola Sepak Malaysia (FBM). Di Persada Antarabangsa, beliau adalah pakar rujuk Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, Bangkok 1989, Rome 1991, WHO World Health Organization pada tahun 1997 dan di Singapura pada tahun 2000. Beliau memegang jawatan Presiden Asia Oceania Association for the Study of Obesity 2014-2018 dan Setiausaha International Association for the Obesity 2010-2014 dan Presiden Kongres Antarabangsa Obesity ICO 2014 pada 17 hingga 20 Mac 2014 di mana Kuala Lumpur menjadi tuan. Sumbangan beliau dalam bidang pemakanan telah diiktiraf di peringkat antarabangsa apabila menjadi rakyat Malaysia yang pertama dianugerahkan Fellow International Union of Nutritional Sciences FIUNS pada tahun 2005 di Durban, South Africa, dan rakyat Malaysia yang kedua yang dianugerahkan Foreign Correspondence French Academy of Medicine FCFAM pada tahun 2017. Beliau juga menjadi pakar pemakanan yang pertama dilantik sebagai Fellow Academy Science Malaysia FASC pada tahun 2005. Sebagai penyelidik, Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail aktif melakukan berbagai penyelidikan dalam bidang pemakanan, termasuk penyelidikan kolaboratif antarabangsa. Beliau telah menulis lebih daripada 150 makalah mengenai berbagai isu pemakanan dalam jurnal antarabangsa dan tempatan. Walaupun telah bersalin wajib pada tahun 2005 dan UGM, beliau masih gigih melibatkan diri dalam dunia akademik yang sendiri. Beliau adalah ketua Jabatan Sains Kesihatan di UNISA 2011-2012, Profesor di Fakulti Sains Kesihatan di ITM 2012-2014 dan Profesor Emeritus di Taylor University 2014-2019. Beliau dilantik sebagai Profesor Pelawat ITM tahun 2021. Hadirin yang dihormati sekalian, saya dengan suka cita mempersilakan Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail Mohamed Noor, Sifu dan juga ayam untuk menyampaikan syarahan beliau Keperluan Kalori Manusia dan Obesiti.
Naik je. Terima kasih. Agenda dia kan.
Ada video dah.
Agenda ke anak dia ke? Oh, dah lebih kurang sama.
Ada video tu, tak ada video. Kat slide ada video. Sorry, kat slide ni ada video. Tak ada.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya rasa terharu kerana diberi peluang untuk bersama rakan seperjuangan saya banyak. Berbahar ada di sini. Dan juga anak murid saya, beberapa anak murid saya beberapa tahun yang lalu. Jadi ini satu peluang untuk kita sama-sama mendengar more of my life history, perjalanan saya sebagai seorang ahli akademik dalam bidang pemakanan. Bila saya berbincang dengan Prof Zana, dia kata, apa bro? Saya kata, rasa macam masuk bako sendiri angkat je ni. Tapi dia kata tak. Dia kata tak apa. So she gave me a thumbs up. So alright. For the next hour, I hope, please izinkan saya beri syarahan ini dalam dua bahasa ya. Bila saya rasa start with my Malay. Okay. Syarahan ini akan saya bentangkan dalam seberapa singkat yang boleh sejarah bidang pemakanan seperti apa yang Prof Suzana kata. Saya terlibat dari awal bidang pemakanan dan pengalaman saya dalam bidang penyelidikan, pengalaman saya dalam bidang akademik, sumbangan profesional, professional activities, pengicarafan dan cabaran masa depan. Dan saya fokus kepada obesiti sebab itu adalah area yang saya sedang teroki. Okey, kalau kita lihat, ini ada satu platform yang saya rasa sama-sama kita perlu tahu. Jabatan Sains Makanan Pemakanan di Fakulti Sains Sayat Bagi ditubuhkan pada tahun 1982, ya. Di situ trust dia adalah bidang sains makanan dan pemakanan. Sewaktu itu pensyarah muda yang baru balik, kita tak cukup orang, jadi kita masih memfokus kepada dual major, sains makanan dan pemakanan. Tapi pada tahun 85 sejak saya balik pada PhD, saya perhatikan yang kita tidak ada program dietetik. So saya terus berbicara dengan Dr. Aminah semasa itu Ketua Jabatan. Kita patut mulakan, dan saya kenali Prof Jad ni, Profesor Jad semasa saya buat PhD dulu, dan dia adalah koordinator dietetik di Queen Elizabeth College. Jadi saya kata, could you help me? We want to start dietetic. She says, why not? Okay, so kita lantik dia jadi penilai luar program, buat ketah kerja. Tapi kita tengok tak ada seorang pun ahli akademik di Fakulti Sains Sayat maupun di Fakulti Perubatan mempunyai ahli dietetik. Jadi macam mana kita nak tawarkan program ni? So dengan support Prof Jad tadi, dia tawarkan 2 tempat untuk staf kita. Itu yang kita pilih. Prof Dr. Fatimah Asyad masa itu dia balik pada Kanada selepas PhD, dan juga Puan Ruzana kalau kita kenal. Kedua-dua ni berpeluang membuat program diploma in dietetics di London with Pak Jad, ya. Tapi program dietetik kita tahu perlu bimbingan ahli dietetik di hospital. Jadi saya ingin merakamkan terima kasih saya kepada Cik Fu, yang some of your student yang ada di sini kenal beliau, Puan Su di UH, dan juga beberapa ahli dietetics yang tolong membantu memberi latihan kepada pelajar kami. So kalau tak tahu, batch pertama kita ada bersama Dr. Chi Ai Chan, juga PhD pertama saya. Dia bergraduate bidang dietetik tahun 1988. So there is no question about where dietetics started. It is UKM, it is Fakulti Sains Sayat. Tapi FSKB dibentukkan tahun 1992 kita tahu, dan Jabatan Dietetik ditubuhkan, satu daripada 3 jabatan. So kita let Jabatan Dietetik take over the program, and in 1995 I realized that it's so funny, you have dietetics in KL, you have nutrition in Bangi. Ada 2 different faculty. I said, that's madness. Let's gabung. Itu yang saya cadangkan masa itu. Dekan Datuk Prof Zakri, Tan Sri. So he setuju, dan juga Tan Sri siapa nama dia? Kita punya dia kan? Salih Yassin, Tan Sri Salih Yassin. And Prof Azman came to Bagi and decide to cantumkan, dan inilah jadi Fakulti Sains Kesihatan Bersekutu. Kita ada Jabatan Pemakanan Dietetik 1995. So that's the history. After that, I heard both of our students did very well this year in the call room. Congratulations to both of you. All right, that's history. Okay, pengalaman dalam bidang penyelidikan. Seperti apa yang Prof kata, saya penerima pertama work at Malaysia University tahun 78 di INCAP, Institute of Nutrition, Central America and Panama in Guatemala. Di situ adalah titik permulaan saya sebagai seorang researcher. Way back, this is Prof Ariawe, the coordinator, and a few other, Dr. Gupta from India, lady from Mexico, from Colombia, all over. These are fellows there. But I work with Dr. Brasani. Can you see the mouse? Is the mouse working? Brasani is top in protein nutrition. Just Google Brasani, but is dead now. But Brasani, I work on. So, and INCAP is famous for malnutrition. These are cases that comes to the clinic. Crazy, embarrassment and quash poor baby with mother. Ini tahun 78. So it was a very good experience. And see, I was so productive. We could publish 5 papers within that. And I will have to show this because these are my first publication in the 80s. Where we look at biochemical components, protein quality, digestibility of mung beans, compare tauge dengan kacang hijau dan sebagainya, compare complementation effect of rice and beans, things like that. And I really enjoyed my stay there, and we was very productive. Of course, bila saya balik pada INCAP, saya terbang, instead of going Pacific way, I go European way. Sebab saya disuruh oleh dekan masa tu, kalau nak buat PhD, jangan buat dalam area protein. But I was trained in protein in INCAP. It's protein work. So I said, oh God, then I must do something else. So I stopped over at London. I met this guy, Derek Miller, very smart, typical British. So he agrees that he will supervise me, and my topic was variation in daily energy expenditure in animals and men. That was done in 1983. Interesting guy. He was in protein before, then he moved to obesity, and this thing is quite nice. The French, kalau you tengok, life is by the fire, tapi Miller ni kata it burns brighter in some than in others. That's why you do get people who can eat like hell and remain slim as a pencil, but others who eat like a tickus and you get put on weight, right? So you know something wrong with the metabolism. So very interesting guy. Then I came back from balik pada PhD, saya sabbatical 5 tahun, saya kata, oh, nak pergi sabbatical ni. So saya apply, dapat pula to the World Academy of Science. Ini masa tu kat Trieste in Italy. But I met Anna Ferraruzzi through a conference in San Diego. I had 3 posters in my PhD, and she was so interested to, because I was doing animal studies and human studies at Kalori. Very interesting job, and she gave me her card. So that's why, for the young generation, please start attending conferences. Open up. Yeah, you get a bigger. You never know how your luck will come the way. So I was very lucky. She said, "Yes, you can come and join us." So I went to Institute of Nutrition in Rome. And she is specialized in human energy requirements. That's why I learned more of the Douglas back technique, the body composition, the underwater weighing. So it does give me some. Tapi saya terpaksa pendekkan sabbatical saya sebab Prof Zakri panggil saya balik jadi ketua jabatan untuk head. In 1989, so I came back to be head of the Department of Food Science and Nutrition in Bangi. I didn't finish my term. I spent about 6 months. So basically, if you are in the area of energy, these are the type of kaedah you can jenis kaedah Douglas back yang paling conventional. And then we have also pram. This is more portable, but you can see all using mass. And then we have the delta track, which you lie down and then a canopy over you. You can measure your BMR. You also can have a room, a small room, and more relaxed. And the current technique is to double level water. This is equipment is intensive. So these are all the things that we have. So I was lucky first. This is true being in Rome. So I got involved in IEA project with, if you know, late Professor Prakash Shetty, Dr. Mauro from Mexico. And then I remember when I was there, Prof Noor Muslim was the DG dekat IEA, dia belanja makan, big nice restaurant. So basically, all we know, what we did was to use the isotope in free living. So that's how you don't have to have mask, you don't have to be in a room cooped up. You just take the stable isotope and you can do your business like any other day. Yeah. So we collect the urine, and then we were working with Paul Haggerty in Aberdeen. So I received sometime during that time I received Royal Society Award to travel to Aberdeen. I spent about a week, and then I got to know Prof Philip James. I think most of us in nutrition and obesity know is quite famous, Prof Philip James. He was then the director of RI, Royal Research Institute. So, okay, then I got students from the main DAF. So they have got grant. So we start looking at Keperluan, looking Keperluan tenaga, anggota tentera recruit di Porikson. Ridiculous, you see how the recruits are treated. Yeah. Tapi tak apa, dia orang ketawa kan bila saya pergi ke conference di Auckland, Commonwealth Defence Science Conference way back in 1991. That's 20 years ago. 20 years ago. 30 years ago, right? Oh, my maths is bad. But when I went there, I showed the tray yang kita punya recruit makan. I said, dia orang kata, is that all your soldiers eat? They were laughing because we had one telur, one dua toast, you know. But interesting, you know, we work out their calorie requirement. This is to do with their ration, the armed forces ration. Very interesting. I work with Ismail so then. Then, of course, my first grant, IRPA grant, way back. I have to fight so hard to get this grant, but I got every penny. 325,000 ringgit. And 1991, that's a lot of money, you know. And I remember Tan Sri Mani Jagatisabha, the chairman of the IRPA group, you know, I convinced him. So we got money, and I had two young, very active couple, they were and from Venice here with us, yeah. So we worked with the money we worked. We went to Sabah, Sarawak. This is in Syrian. We went to Sabang Pelai, orang Sarawak tahu rumah panjang. Then we cover also Kulim, Kedah. I remember we went to Terengganu, Johor. You know, I remember. Eng was talking to the Chinese community there, and we were in Kota Syarahan. This is an estate somewhere in Kulim. Well, at least I know Winnie did her job. She was looking at activities of this. I think this is Negeri Sembilan. Banyak pokok apa petai. Betul lah. Wah, ada gambar. I said, okay, that's measurement of it. So they both graduated together as my master student. And the important thing is that persamaan kadar metabolism masters. That equation is still being used because no one else have done any studies on energy expenditure. And it's been used as a reference in both MDGs and RNIs. Yeah. Then the next lady came into my life. There she is. Who we could. Yeah. I was lucky because Jay Henry. You look how thin he is. when he was, most of you have seen Jay, we were actually doing PhD together. I was in Queen Elizabeth College, he was in London School of Hygiene. He works with John Rivers, I work with Miller. So I know him, he's from Sri Lanka, but his wife is from Malaysia, from Kajang. So we work well together. And then we got a grant. We got a national grant for 4 years. That's how I got Bikun to be interested in the project. We were looking at differences of BMR, kadar metabolisme asas, di antara budak-budak di Bangi dan di Oxford. Yeah, this is his lab, and of course the equation is still being used for adolescents group. Yeah. So basically, we asked me the research. The Sumbangan is in its book. The equation is being used. If you want to work out your energy requirement, you need to use our BMR equation if you're adult or adolescents. Yeah? And this is clearly placed in all these documents. Yeah? All right. Then came the Commonwealth game. Remember that I got a grant from Majlis Syarahan Prof. I had a few undergraduate students that looks at different athletes, study what male athlete, female athlete, boxers, rugby players, divers, rhythmic, and footballers. So this is a whole bunch of group of students doing different projects. Boxing, I remember clearly, it was in Paroi, Seremban, and rhythmic gymnastics. Both of these sports, we won gold in the Commonwealth game. I remember, of course, rugby, we were trumps. Kita kena lawan Tonga dengan, you know, result selalunya 57, Malaysia 0. Wow. Anyway, you know how huge these guys are, you know, from the Pacifics. But this is interesting, you know, at that time, we were asking, are the energy requirements met? That means, are these athletes fat enough? Obviously not many. Don't make only 25% out of the, or 47 of the 180 national athletes meet energy requirement at that time. And then I asked the Majlis Syarahan Prof director, where does this athlete eat? Itu yang cafeteria orang ramai pun makan kat situ. I said, how can that be? These are elite athletes. How can you feed them in the cafeteria? That's why now if you go to ISN, they have a brand new, I mean, they have a separate cafeteria for national athletes. At least I did that to change that. So basically, here, this slide is all the slides that I put together. All I want you to know is to know that lihat ke sini tahap aktiviti fizikal. Memang kita tak capai apa yang disarankan oleh WHO 1.75 because BMR kita ukur, total penggunaan tenaga harian kita ukur. Jadi kalau kita divide this, we get a PAL value, and most of them you see nowhere near 1.7. So we are sedentary. Itu yang rumusan yang dari sebuah kajian yang saya buat pada waktu itu, ya, rakyat Malaysia memang hidup sedentary. Kos penggunaan tenaga bila kita duduk tak sama dengan Caucasian atau orang Barat. Predictive equation yang WHO gunakan, sarankan memang tinggi untuk kita. Kalau kita gunakan keperluan lebih angka estimate kadar metabolisme. Jadi, this is my statement way back in 2005, that is 16 years ago. With food available almost around the clock, you know, you can eat 24 hours a day now in Malaysia. Those days, all factors above adds up to be a recipe for disaster for Malaysians. And I'm not wrong about it, as you can see what's happening today. Yeah. Then I got two students, PhD student from the armed forces. Razali is now a lecturer in UK at Bangi. He wanted to work on the navies, so we went to Loma. Am I okay? We went to Lumut. This is the study lah. So that's the time I came to know that we bought a submarine. It's parked in Lumut and it cannot go down and it cannot go up. Because if it goes down, it won't come up. They say, that's terrible. We wasted billions of dollars. Anyway, that's a different story. Then I had Aznida doing her PhD. She looked, kita pergi kat Sedeli. Ini betul-betul active soldiers in Pulada, Pusat Latihan Tentera Darat. They do all sort of activities and it's interesting. They come up. When I asked her some time ago, I said, did they use your data? They said, yes, but it seems that they are fed well. So, okay, that means ransom. Pasal at that point of time, they were talking about moving things in pre-packs, these pack rations. So I don't know what the armed forces are eating now, but I'm sure better than before. And lastly, on energy, because of my interest in car, I built one in London, is the chamber, because well, it's a PhD project. Kita bila kalau kita rasa bagus kalau kita dapat fulfill that. If you do something and you cannot, cannot mimic it. In fact, during my YWA, the external examiner, what are you going to do when you go back? Are you going to build this thing? Because I built one in London. My QEC London chamber, and then for my PhD project. So actually, I did manage to build one in UKM, exactly on the same thing. But you can see, I mean, I've been to Phoenix, I've been to all the rest. Maastricht is now top. In fact, this A-star chamber, which Jaya bought, it cost 3 million Singaporean, and they have two. You see, Singaporean, they're rich, yeah. We cannot afford that. But the beauty of our setup is, I just quickly, so here, as my first PhD student, T, when I sold the idea to our dekan, dia tak berminat. So I pergi MU. Dr. Anuzali said, why not? Okay, I had some fun. You can, and he gave me 2 rooms on the 11th floor University Hospital, and he's here to watch for it. We work and build a respirometer in HUKM. But then I applied for grants. When I got grant, then I built one, a more proper one in UKM, which we have it at College Tun Side Nasir, on the 3rd floor, block 8. Ada meja, ada katil. So, ini selesa. It's like a 3-star hotel. I call it a 3-star hotel because you can move in. So it works. It works. That's the beauty. A simple calorimeter that can differentiate between. You see, it's just step test. If you do a step test, you can see how in the respirometer, you enter for 24 hours, you can see, and when you sleep, you can measure your, and when you get up, don't get out of bed, we can measure your BMR so it's interesting. Yeah? And in fact, I presented this in Maastricht in the year 2000. Is that for me? Then, of course, Bikun, we get money from IEA to work on different aspects, because besides energy, you can also look at body composition. And body composition have many techniques. Yeah? From the simple skin fold, as you know, I mean, but dilution technique is a lot more better. And this is where when I left, bila 3 kontrak habis 2011, because this group of PAEM, I said, great, so that you can continue my legacy. And actually she did. She, from there on, have a group of people, and I'm still in it. over time. And then we have a few PhD students, Tansuji, looking at energy expansion, leukemia, children. These are all isotope techniques, children, involve children. So Biswan also did her PhD in more like adolescents, 1914. Right. This is the other thing that I did. I was in the Academy of Science. I was invited to be part of the Goma project, a panel, and we were invited to London. You know, I tell you, there were 88 applications, and they shortlisted about 30. And in London, you know, 50 gone. And then out of 30, only 4 got. I'm happy to say that we couldn't got one of them, yeah, with working with Prof Gibson, Roehampton. So this is a group there, and the project is Toy Box. I think it's still dah habis ke dah? Dah habis dah. You see, by doing, you see, we all need to start somewhere, kan? Once you start something, if you can do well, people will give you the grant, the continuation. Yeah. So we were lucky that one. And this is just to tell you, I am an evaluator for all the grants in pengajian tinggi. Yeah. Pada all these LRGS, FRGS, dijemput, yeah. And I also work with Mosti. Right. Okay. Since I left UKM, so I joined TALES in 2014. And my job was actually to start inculcate research in TALES. So I was given some money. And we had this flagship program, and Dr. Elise is here. she heads the first project, Asian Food Parameter. We had a food science, nutritionist food science, Dr. Chong, and Benjamin. We had a PhD looking at gadgets for, you know, life real-time monitoring gadgets, and then Dr. Wong. But this is what we failed to do. We were trying to do an experiment to mimic what Toulouse experimental platform, which we couldn't do because it's expensive. But anyway, yeah. Then I got involved with this ally. Leah is a French research group, but CNRS is huge. CNRS have 22,000 researchers, the biggest in France, and in fact bigger in Europe also. So they fund Prof Pulan, and I got involved with that. And then this quickly, more recent, I remember I started with protein and NCAP way back in 78, and suddenly 40 years later I realized, hey, but then it's a different aspect. I was looking at biochemical within, but here is a social cultural aspect, which Elise and Prof Pulan, this thing. So we work with Adam Dronsky from University of Washington, and the group of ladies from Simeo from Jakarta. Yeah, that's a group, Simoreka. And this is, we were last in Bali presenting our studies. And more recently, the hibiscus grant, that is France and Malaysia grant, we got one to look at Prader-Willi syndrome, but it's food socialization, not about what they eat, but how they actually eat their food with the surrounding. Yeah? Now, okay, the other thing, quickly, for those who are UMS, I remember Yasmin asking me, yes, Dato' Abu Hassan asked me to prepare kertas kerja. There was a committee that actually set up college makanan dan pemakanan. So you can imagine, way back in 1994, we prepared the kertas kerja, which is our faculty. Kalau those who know UMS have a faculty of food science and nutrition. So that's the faculty that actually initiated for our kertas kerja. I was then invited as a lembaga pengajian, and Prof Noranjan was there to look at food science. I look at the nutrition part, and I also visited Noranjan in Reading, my old college, because I did my master's in food science in Reading. For USM, yes, I was in fact the first external examiner for the dietetic program. They invited me, and then I realized, hey, USM only got dietetic program, tak ada nutrition. I think, hey, that's crazy. Man. I told them, you better have nutrition because you need a strong nutrition base before you can be a dietitian. Now you just suddenly introduce dietetic program, is it? You have to have a BSc dietetic. Then they started one, of course, later. And then involved in URA, so they were in UPM also. You know, dipanggil, dijemput sebagai ini. And then I worked with UNISA during that time. They were still under medical faculty, satu faculty, science kesihatan. So now it's split. That I started the kertas kerja before I left. Then okay lah, MQA, some of you are involved. This one activity in the UKM, I think you have seen me sometime, either whether defending our students' thesis to attend. I think I say hard lah. You got that this? Yeah, where we invite Dr. Chong. I think I see hard kan? I don't remember what year. But then I regularly been invited with Prabha kan, kita kena grant proposal, looking at manuscript, just to assist. And of course, sekarang ni I Profesor Pelawat UNISA untuk tahun ni lah. Tapi unfortunately, COVID tak pernah pergi UNISA. Semua pakai online aja. And with Academy of Science, we work on the new National Policy for Science and Technology 2021-2030. Yeah, I'm with this working group looking at enhancing strategic international alliance. So if you get the documents that I'm involved in that group, and then also I was invited to be a panel member to look for the top research scientists. I don't know why I cannot see UKM application. Strange. Why others apply? You all should apply. I don't see any from UKM. Strange. You all do very well. You should. Then, okay, antara bangsa, this is history, but very important to me because of my interest in human energy requirement. Yeah, it was the first report was published in '85, but then when they updated it, I was already in the expert consultation. We were in Rome for 1 week looking to update this red book to the blue book. It takes 4 or 5 years before they publish it, but that's where we work out the human energy requirements. So I was involved in this WHO, FAO. The other international involvement is this looking at in 1997, I'm in the consultative group FAO, looking at obesity, preventing obesity, and come up with this, remember the BMI categories? That was in London, in Geneva. And then what happened after that? There's a lot of, the Asians feel that if it's 30, at that point in time, we don't get huge incidents in Asian. So it's not important. 30 is not. That's for Mak Saleh, 30. We bring it down. So we brought down to 25. You know, this is the IOTF, which I was also involved in. And then what we realized, this YY paradox. I mean, this is those who have Professor Yudkin is in London, Professor Yatnik is in Pune, India. I know both of them. And when they measure themselves using DEXA, even though they have same BMI, the fat is 2 times bigger. Lemak. It's huge difference in fat. I can see that. Oh yeah. So that's then the WHO have to call another consultation, and it happened in Singapore. In Singapore, in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, 2002, and then this comes up in the report in Lancet. You can see now you can see continuum because dia tak ada satu point, but it's a continuum. From certain BMI to certain BMI is low risk, moderate risk, high risk. So we are using that now, yeah, as a definition or classification for overweight and obesity. But that's how it evolved. Also, I was invited to this ASEAN food group, Brunei and all that. So I was a chief editor for this food of ASEAN. I've yet to show this to JP. I forgot about it entirely because this was a long time ago, about 20 years ago. Okay. With FAO, BMI and all this, a lot of consultation I've been involved in between the years. Yeah. And I also was invited to be in Nestle Foundation workshop on building nutrition research in Vevey. So my friend visited, so I became a visiting professor in Tijuana, Universidad Baja de California, Mexico. Our friend, but my friend, he did his master's while I was doing PhD. His wife, they both did masters in Queen Elizabeth College. I was doing my PhD then. So I do some teaching, and then of course that's the dean of the school. Okay, in 2004, 2005, very right. I was in London, so I visited Clyde, and also Prof Clyde, very famous sport nutritionist in Loughborough. In fact, 29 June, just a week after that, London the tube bombing in King Cross. So I survived. Just a few days, if you look at the date. But yeah, I was involved with the Jawatan Kuasa Technical Asia Games and the Commonwealth Games and the Doha Games. Yeah? That is, masa tu Minister Azalina, Dato' Azalina. You see, then Bogadas, Professor Bogadas invited me. He said, yes, actually, I have a son studying in Iowa. So when I visited him, I said, can I visit you? He said, why not? And I want to promote the upper conference. So I went there in NIH, and then I have a look at, they had their room respirometer there. But they have a lot of work. They work a lot on PIMA engines, yeah? And obesity and diabetes. So I spent a few days there, interesting. And 2010, this one is more, I was invited to Persatuan Pemakanan Iran punya conference in Shiraz. But then during that time, we have students from Iran in our faculty, Shabanam, and I tak ingat yang ni, siapa ni? Dan Nima, I know, Nima PhD yang comel ni. Yeah, I mean, they're all Iranian. Rehane, that's right. Rehane, macam model. Anyway, Nima is here. This is our PhD student. We were at University Isfahan, and then I visited the Obesity Research Center also. Yeah, so Iran, and finally, I've been visiting Toulouse almost every year since 2016. per courtesy of John Pierre Polan. Okay, I do teach the postgraduate students there sometime, and I'll give seminar. This is Isha, the school, and this is the experimental platform. This is what we want. Yang kita dah cuba build in tailors, but we couldn't do. But it's there, set up in Toulouse, where you can watch people. You can, they are in the, and you can watch how they behave towards food interaction. You can put anything in that, and we'll learn something from food behaviors. This is a slide I just had because I think young researchers, especially academicians, pay attention, because we like to work with industries. We need the grants, I know, but beware, conflict of interest, because there are people who, maybe question, your relation with industries and your research punya integrity can be questioned. So be careful. There are these people, we work on that, they're looking at the interaction between researchers and population research. And then my other contributions are all these big editors. But what I pride most is I started Malaysian Journal of Nutrition way back in 1995. I started it, and now it's doing very well. Yeah. Okay, professional contribution. I'm going to go quickly because I didn't see you giving me timing. Are you okay? Am I right? Okay. I think okay. This one banyaklah terlibat. Ini I nak tunjukkan those nutritionists yang muda-muda. Inilah our first NSM meeting 1985. See Dr. Chong, myself, Dr. T, Prof Yok Lin, I can remember. Adalah a few here. Huh? Yeah, then we organized. In 85 we organized. 87 we bid. 1991 we already host the Asian Congress. And then President, and then we had this. Some of you attended this thing. Jay, do you remember this? Eagle Farm Nutrition Leadership Program, yeah, and of course we are still active. Dr. T, Jaya Prof, Jaya Henry, we were in Buenos Aires for the nutrition ICN, International Conference of Nutrition. I never missed this ICN since my PhD days, since 19 berapa? In San Diego, I remember. And then for Asian Congress, there was the Bali Congress last year, 2 years ago, this COVID. And then for Masa, we have conference every 2 years. But important, certain things like we were involved with the biotric surgeons, semasa 207, Masa 207. And then we organized the World Conference and then also the Asia Oceania Conference. And Sumbangan Masa juga banyak. Kita buat camp. We started since 1998. We were all over Malaysia. We do Masa camp. People with overweight, we invite them to go to a resort for 2 days over the weekend. Then we tell them what to do with your weight. Ni police contingent Kuala Terengganu, we did the thing there. Then more recently we got grant from MOH to do this suku separuh program in community. So that is a collaboration with NSM, MDA dan MySihat. We went to Selangor, Johor. So it's interesting. This program kita pergi 5 daerah di Johor, 5 daerah di Selangor, and then it works. If they are serious, you can lose as much as 20 kgs. Yeah, just using the super concept, yeah? And a bit of physical activity lah, of course. Yeah. And the other thing that we must do is to come up with this prevention strategy, obesity prevention strategy 2005, but now we are currently updating this to 2005, and also I'm involved with looking at this report, prioritize food policy under ASM. Much earlier years, I was the president of CUSTEM. We had the Silver Jubilee, and I was the actually founding secretary of MSSA. Ini yang saintis lebih pada 60 tahun, 50 ke atas, yang dah pension. Yeah, Datuk Leon Deng was the president then, I remember. Antarabangsa, well, you see, I've been around, yeah, secretary of FANS, Federation, IUNS, ISO, yeah. You see, in 1987, I was in Osaka to invite people to come to KL. 1991, every 4 years. This Minister Dr. Chong is here. Then Beijing, I was a president already by then. And then we, this is what I found. This is a unique picture because I think not many can get this picture with all these giants of nutrition. If you look at this, there's Vernon Young, that's Barbara Underwood, that's Navin Scrimshaw, that's Gopalan, top Asian, Ari, and then the Egyptian governor. And here is a young man seated at the corner there. So that was a good one. And then during the IUNS Council meeting, I was at the council. We had a meeting in UNICEF in New York. And this is more recent in Bali. That's nutrition. What about obesity? Obesity, I was involved for the first meeting in Malaysia in 2001. 2003 was KL. 2005 was Taipei. 2007 was actually Korea. And 2009 Mumbai, bomb mother. 2011 Philippines, 2013 Indonesia, 2015 back to Japan. 2017 Adelaide, 2019 was Seoul in Korea, but that's where we bid. So actually this year in April, we had this year, yeah? Okay, right. So now, I just go through that. So plenty things. The other thing is about ICO, the World Conference. Actually, we brought the Obesity World Conference in KL in 2014. And then attending all the meetings, invitation from Taiwan, from Japan. Yeah, I do get this. Pergi Cirafan quickly, just ini masuk baku saya angkat ni. Professor in actually 1994, but published in 1995. Outstanding for, after 25 years, we got the outstanding for NSM. The late Dr. Chong was the first president. Here's Dr. T's. So the three of us are the stalwart of Nutrition Society, as you know. Then I get fellowship, local Nutrition Society, from fellowship of Masa and Masa. This is difficult to get. First nutritionist to get fellow of Academy Science, tahun 2006. And if you notice, our VC got the same year. That's right. Hafsa, she got the same year. And then all this recognition. This is also interesting because of my effort bringing all the conference around the world, international congress. They gave me this Kesatria Malaysia. That is it's an award by itself. Sebab kita bawa tourists, eco-tourists lah. Those who come for conferences pay a lot of money. So I got the Kesatria Malaysia. And of course, finally I got this Emeritus in 2014. And then they forgot about me until this year. I don't know why, but you didn't ask me, I so senyap lah. But you see, this is important. Actually, I pride myself to have this FIUNS because this is the international body. To be a fellow of IUNS is something, yeah? Not many will get that. And then another one more recently, through my French connection, I got this. This is interesting. If you look at it, the Academy of Medicine in France is like a museum. So beautiful with architecture. Look at the, amazing. You know, so I got this French correspondent. In fact, the only other Malaysian is Dato Emeritus, I think the punya ni, lady. Okay, Cabaran. Okay, this one is not, because I don't meant this lecture to be very scientific, more of my achievements or sumbangan ataupun penyelidikan, tapi okay, let's go quickly through this to finish up. Kita tahu Malaysia ni juara, ya, memang keluar dalam utusan baru ni, tapi benda ni bukan baru, ya, kita dah tahu lama dahulu dah, ya. Masalahnya kita tak ambil perhatian, tak serius. This is something that is very soon. Please pay attention. We look at Malaysia, the risk. See the red box. We are as bad as US. We talk about US being bad. We are as bad as US in national risk. This is important. You must realize. Look at Singapore, 4.5, which means what? The risk. You better go to Singapore so that you won't be obese. No, the risk is terrible. For children, it's 7.5. For national, is 8 out of 10. So our risk pointers. This tells you it's a cabaran for us in the future. What about cost? We don't know much about cost, but this recent study, it already came 2 weeks ago. In 8 countries, you can see country like Thailand is already $7 billion and 1.27 the GDP. So Malaysia adalah satu study by this Economist Intelligence that say that it is about 1.2 billion. But be careful. If we are not careful, this cost is just go up and up. Yeah? So that's another concern. Now, the other concern is not many people, everybody talks about obesity as a causal factor. No, you have to change your mindset. Obesity is a disease. It's not a factor. Just like diabetes, it's a disease. Yeah? A lot of countries or a lot of associations have recognized obesity as a disease. So even country have recognized, look at this, France, German parliament quite recently in 2020 recognized that obesity. When do Malaysia are going to recognize obesity as a disease? I don't think it takes some time. So you look at the brave spread. You see, obesity is the center of everything. You reduce your weight, you reduce every other thing. It's so key. And now we don't have anything about COVID. I asked the Ministry about people. Those died of COVID, are they obese? No, we don't know. So, yeah, obesity increased the risk of death and mortality in COVID patients by 2 times. Yeah, kita tahu. And in fact, they come up with the atlas now. The World Obesity Base in London has come up with the atlas in March 2029. Where they compare COVID versus prevalence of overweight. You can see the color hitam-hitam ada persamaan. Orang yang COVID will have also probably overweight and obese. Will be more serious, and then of course treatment is almost impossible. Some of them The other thing that I want to raise attention to the group is this ultra-processed food. This is something which we as food scientists, or those, we know about unprocessed food, we know about partially processed food, things like. But ultra-processed food is a new thing. We don't realize it. They have a lot of ingredients that we don't know. Yeah, ultra-processed food. So these are some of the examples. They use additive, they use, and it's always tahan lama. You wonder sometimes your break, why your break can last for 1 week now? Those days, only 2 days, dah kulat, kan? So what did they put in your break? We never asked. So you be careful. And you look at this station. There were companies that are involved. A lot of companies, we have to be very careful. What are the products? But from here, it shows that it's about 60 kg per person per day. Of course, like America, I thought they're obese. They makan banyak sangat ultra-processed food. Yeah. Okay. This is from Chila. I think it's important that we look how the companies, food companies are doing. And this study financed by the RDRC, looking at transparency, the company's commitment. And it really is not very good. You see, they got only 8 out of 33 companies score more than 25. So the company have to do a lot better. If you want to have you say about healthy environment, but then if you're putting in the market, in the shelf, unhealthy foods, that's not healthy environment, kan? We know that. That's what Board Swinburne is working on now. This accountability pact will be soon, but it's a difficult, well, it involves transnational companies. Company, how powerful they are, like PepsiCo, Nestle, Danone, and all that. They're very powerful. So private sector, we have to really work together. And in Malaysia, for those young, if you are interested in obesity, these are 2 documents, were quite recent. Please look at it and useful for you. If you want to do research, look at this research priorities. There is a section on obesity and what are the prioritized areas for obesity. Yeah? And of course, if you want to look at how we want to improve our environment, look at the policy options. A lot of things are there, written black and white, tapi cuma sama ada kerajaan mampu mengalihkan, create a hard policy thing. So finally, just 2 things. Key barriers. Now, always remember, obesity, we have been marginalized. That means people give more because you don't get a certificate of that, you die because of obesity. Rare. Jadi tak penting. You die because of CBD, diabetes, whatever, you don't die. So, but then they got the ugly system of health and the disease. You saw where I put obesity just among all the other diseases. Yeah, individualized again. You always blame individual. You blame people. You blame the community. Please, obesity is not about a person. It's everyone involved. And industrialized, industry is important. It's a big stake and politicized. You don't talk about cutting this, cutting that near the election now, especially. The moment you say this, it's a political issue. So we have to balance ourselves when we approach it. Can't talk about palm oil, things like that. So be careful. These are the things. So my take-home message through this thing just now, we have to recognize obesity as a disease, and it has very complex factors. Like any other disease, they boleh treat, prevent. and acknowledge the environment we live in is obesogenic. Tengoklah, we live in. It's difficult to keep your weight down. Yeah, we know that. And preventing obesity is a societal challenge because it's not only government, and government is not only MOH. MOH alone cannot do it. For obesity, it has to be all the other ministries that are related. And science, people like us, businesses, we have to come in civil society. Maybe take up this COVID pandemic as an opportunity. And suddenly, because of COVID, you can close shop. Forget about 24 hours, they close shop. So many, now you can eat certain time of the day. So we can do it if you want to. Yeah? The government should think about, there shouldn't be a 24-hour stall after COVID. but let's see lah. I don't think that it happened. Because they still think that tourists in Penang should eat at 2 a.m. in the morning. Crazy. Hey, I cannot believe that kind of excuse. Because tourists in Penang have to eat at 2 a.m. they open the kedai. Come on lah. Hey, this typical of, I don't know, these people. Anyway, finally, future challenge, as I say, what we need to do in Malaysia is, government has to be serious. Our government is never serious. So it's not surprising. It's going, everything is going up every year. Every time they do survey, they have to have been some seriousness in this leadership, yeah? Always go for, because soft policy doesn't work. You say, hey, teach people. Yeah, you can teach them. Give them volumes of journals, books. You can educate so much, but you cannot tell them what to eat outside there. It's difficult. Funding, yes, they should fund more funding. Cultural norm. Kalau COVID boleh tukar kita punya norm, I hope future we will see more healthy environment. We can all at least cut down all this late night eating. And business as usual. Company have to change. It cannot be business as usual. Huh? So finally, this is the thing. I really am where I am now because I have all these people. I'm really grateful. And of course, my supervisor he's a unique man. He is Mr. Miller. I just tell you that. He's Mr. He doesn't have a PhD. But you walk into his room, he got like hundreds of PhD students, punya thesis per day. Then I asked him, why? How come you don't do your PhD? You look here, young man. If I don't get a Nobel laureate, nothing matters. You see? That kind of supervisor, a fantastic guy. But he died young, unfortunately. He died in 86, 3 years after I finished. And of course, Prof Henry, as I say, we work well together. And he's now in Singapore with Aisha and Prof Plan. Oh, Jean-Pierre, I'm still working with him. He was here last week, but he has to go back for Christmas. We have Elise to represent the French this year. And then, of course, T.I. Champ, all this. I'm sorry, but the others, because most of the project, I was talking more about energy requirements, kan. So, benda-benda yang terlibat saja. These are the things. So, thank you again to all. And finally, of course, to my family lah. Yeah. Keluarga saya tercinta ni raya baru ni. So, yang gambar tepi ni cucu saya baru dekat Sydney. Mikael, so tak boleh masuk dalam sini lah. Because dia tak ada, he was born in February this year. Mikael. So that's it. They are the one. They are the wind beneath my wings. Let me fly, you see. So, thank you. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih berbagai Prof. Mohon Prof untuk kekal di atas pentas. Seterusnya dipersilakan yang berbahagia Prof Dekan untuk menyampaikan cermatan kepada yang berbahagia Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail. Sekali lagi, terima kasih diucapkan kepada yang berbahagia Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail dan dipersilakan untuk mengambil tempat duduk, dan majlis mohon yang berbahagia Prof Dekan untuk kekal di atas pentas. Hadirin yang dihormati, pada hari yang berbahagia ini, pihak fakulti ingin mengambil peluang untuk menghargai dan meraihkan dua graduan fakulti yang telah menerima anugerah di Majlis Convocation Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia ke-49 baru-baru ini. Dipersilakan penerima anugerah pingat emas Universiti Saudara Lee Kuan Yew dari program Sains Pemakaman. Dan dipersilakan penerima anugerah emas kedoktoran Dr. Yu Yizing dari Pusat Kajian Healthcare. Majlis memperangkatkan sebuah penghargaan kepada yang berbahagia Prof Dekan dan tahniah sekali lagi diucapkan kepada penerima anugerah Jumaat. Hadirin hormati sekalian, demikian tadi syarahan Profesor Emeritus yang bertajuk Keperluan Kalori Manusia dan Obesiti, Pengalaman, Sumbangan dan Cabaran Masa Depan. Majlis merakamkan ucapan tahniah dan segala penghormatan kepada yang berbahagia Profesor Emeritus Dr. Mohamed Ismail Mohamed Noor atas syarahan sebentar tadi. Tepukan gemuruh untuk yang berbahagia. Dan sekarang kita ke sesi bergambar. Mohon yang berbahagia Datuk, Datin, Prof, Tuan-tuan dan Puan-puan untuk kekal di tempat duduk masing-masing dan jurugambar akan mengambil gambar dari atas pentas.
Buka masa.
Tak kena.
Buka lah. Satu je.
Okey, baik.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Terima kasih. Hadirin sekalian, selesai sudah acara kita pada pagi ini. Untuk itu, majlis menjemput yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Pobikun, Pengerusi Pusat Kajian Kesihatan Komuniti REACH, mengiringi yang berbahagia Prof Dekan dan juga tetamu hormat untuk menikmati jamuan yang disediakan di Cafe Cingkin di Depan. Persilakan.
Tanya lagi.
Syarahan Prof Emeritus di atas standar
cukup dah kan? Ha? Tak cukup dah. Kena bos kan cakap tak cukup lah apa lah, malas lah. Lagi